Originally, my idea of making this video was just simply to talk about the recent harem series that has gotten a lot of popularity, and it seems that it's gotten a lot of attention by the anime community, and that is the 100 Girlfriends Who Really Like You. This series has gotten so much attention, and the people who were saying that they weren't going to watch this series or that they were just not going to enjoy it at all when watching the first few episodes have already also stated that they have enjoyed this series and hope that there's more to come with this series. Now, when I was thinking of making this video, that was just simply going to be that, just talking about the series and pretty much what I liked about it. But now that I thought about it more clearly and more deeply, I want to talk about in general the harem genre and how quite recently it seems that a lot of people's opinions and viewpoints towards this genre has changed drastically. And it's not just because of the 100 Girlfriends Who Really Like You. While yes, this series was part of a reason why many people now have different opinions of the harem genre, I think there are other series as well that have shown that this genre can be as enjoyable as any other genre of anime. Now, of course, the reason why I say that people's opinions have changed drastically is because beforehand, not a lot of people had very positive opinions about the harem genre in anime. That is because the harem genre is viewed as very unrealistic, and how a group of girls or a group of guys are attracted to one particular person for seemingly no reason, which is something that is never really explained as to why these group of people are attracted to this one particular person. Sometimes they just do it just because, and this of course frustrates people because many people believe that the only reason why these stories are even created is just simply for fan service. Or another trope that you oftentimes see in these harem genres is that the main character is always very nervous or shy around the people that are attracted to them, which of course is understandable why sometimes it may happen, but for some people it's not really a great trope, and it sometimes gets very annoying to see whenever the MC gets flustered for pretty much everything. So yeah, with these reasons alone, there's a reason why so many people weren't happy with this genre. But I think the series that really started to change people's opinions towards this genre was none other than the Quintessential Quintuplets. The Quintessential Quintuplets is still one of my favorite series of all time, and yes, I am fully aware the ending wasn't great, but this series still did a lot of things that you don't really see in a typical harem series, like how the MC is somebody that you can actually respect and has many personalities and characteristics that makes them a very unique character and not just simply the protagonist of a harem series. Like, they too have dreams and goals that they want to achieve as well. But this wouldn't be the only series that did just that. There's also another series that also quite recently had its own anime adaptation, and that is the Cafe Terrace and its Goddesses. There's a lot of similarities with both of these series, but I think the thing that stand out the most is how they actually created a very compelling story and a very good romance story between each of the characters of their own series, which not a lot of harem series did back then. But in these two series, it's something that is completely different. You have the MCs who clearly at first were not interested in the girls at all, slowly but surely starting to appreciate each of the girls, and then you have the girls as well who weren't interested in the MC at all. It took a lot of time for all these girls to learn that the person that they seemed to not be interested in had a lot of things that made them very special, and I think that's really great to see because it all came naturally. It wasn't forced, it wasn't just simply done for moving the plot forward. No, the people who wrote these stories knew that these characters, in order to make them interesting and for people to actually take this story seriously, they realized that they were going to have to do things differently from your typical harem series. Like in these two examples, they actually did break a lot of the typical harem tropes, like how very early on both of these series showed us that eventually one of the girls will be the winner and would end up with the MC. The reason why this is important is because a lot of these series tend to always drag the idea of who ends up with who, and usually some cases there's some series that eventually they don't end up with anybody. Yes, there is series like that exist, so it's really great to see confirmation that eventually the story is going to have an ending, that these people are going to end up with the people that they care for. And then going back to the MCs, I really do enjoy how both of these MCs aren't flustered or very nervous whenever they see girls, or sometimes they have to be around them, but in these two series they don't show that. They don't show them being nervous or flustered, and that is because the main characters weren't written like that. Both of these characters are very sometimes brutally honest and clearly aren't panicking over the littlest of things. Of course, that is not to say that that doesn't never happen, because it does happen from time to time, but it's usually very rarely, and there's a reason why they react the way they reacted. Now, moving on from the MCs, we have to obviously talk about the female characters in these harem series. And in these two examples, the female characters all have a very unique personality that separates from one another, which I know for some people it may not seem like a big deal, and it's something that's very obvious that every character needs to have. But you'd be surprised how many harem series have these female characters that either don't have a personality or are very one-dimensional. But not with these two series. Each girl has a very unique personality that separates them from the other people, and they have a lot of very different hobbies and different characteristics about them that makes you not really mind seeing from time to time, and in some cases they might become your favorite character of these series. And this is what really makes it a huge deal for the harem genre, making these characters stand out in their own way, because of course this will lead to the person who is reading or watching this series having a hard time as to who should end up with the MC, who is the girl who should be the one to be by the side of the protagonist. And it's usually very difficult if they all have very likable personalities or they have things that makes them a very strong character. It's details like this that not only make you care about the characters of the show, but they also make you care about the story overall. You want to see how it ends. You want to see who is going to end up with who, because clearly every girl was impacted by the MC, making it very clear that the MC was not just some useless person. These people changed the way the girls think and behave, and that is something that probably would have never happened if they never saw each other and never met. It's things like this that really started to change people's opinions towards the harem genre, especially these two series. From what I've seen, it shows us that even though these two series do belong in the harem genre, they did create a very impactful story with very impactful characters that you wanted to see till the very end. They both broke tropes that you oftentimes see in these series and did a complete 180, because the people who wrote these stories knew that this is not what they wanted to write about. They didn't want their story to just simply be another typical harem story. No, they wanted their story to stand out. They wanted their story to be very memorable and to be talked about no matter how much time has gone by. And that is something that you see with the quintessential quintuplets. To this very day, despite this series already over, there's still a lot of people that talk about this series. There's still a lot of people that make fan art and stuff like that. So it just goes to show us that while the series has ended, it has impacted a lot of people and has become many people's favorite series of all time. And that's thanks to its characters, its emotional moments, its very wholesome moments, serious moments, romantic moments, etc. The list goes on. And this can go as well with the Cafe Terrace and its goddesses. It's still ongoing. As someone who is keeping up to date with the recent chapters of this series, I can safely say that the story is still going through and through. It's still a very solid story, and there's still a lot of things that are happening that is making it very clear that the story is not yet finished and there's more to come. But what if the harem series isn't trying to be a serious, impactful story? What if it's trying to be goofy and it knows it, and it's just trying to show us how absurd it can get? Well, this is where I have to now talk about finally about the 100 Girlfriends Who Really Like You, but as well as another series that was also actually airing during the same time this series also came out, and that is Girlfriend with its second season. Both of these shows are very absurd, and many people may call it a dumpster fire, which I wouldn't blame you if you had those opinions. But I think what makes these two series very special is the fact that they are fully aware just how crazy and insane their story plot is. But instead of trying to pretend and act like they want to be a very serious story, they just simply go along with the flow and try to be as insane as possible, with each chapter or each episode getting crazier than the last one. And the 100 Girlfriends Who Really Like You, the MC, this being Rentaro, now has to get 100 girlfriends to be with him thanks to the mistake of a god who made 100 soulmates all be attracted to him. And with girlfriend, the MC is very serious and is determined to make his polyamorous relationship work, even though it's very clear that this whole idea is insane, and the only person who is determined to make this whole thing work is the MC themselves. But even though the plots are crazy, both of these series have something that makes it just work, and that is the great cast of characters that we have. Both of these series, just like the quintessential quintuplets and the Cafe Terrace, have characters that you like to see, and that is because of, once again, they all have unique personalities that makes them apart from one another. And that is something that is great to see, because it's very clear that, yes, the premise is crazy, they still put a lot of thought into these characters, with each character having their own story and having their own reasoning as to why they act and behave the way they do. But even though these animes aren't meant to be taken serious, both of these series have have shown that if they want to, they can actually create some very impactful moments that really stands out, like characters growing, characters showing a side that they don't oftentimes show to a lot of people. Like, just to give a few examples, in the 100 Girlfriends, there's this character named Nano, who is a girl who shows very little emotion and seems to always think things logically rather than just trying to live her life to the fullest. It seems that this was just how she was her entire life, but of course when she met the MC, her life completely changed as she came to realize that while there may be some things that may be seen as unnecessary or something that's not important to life, that may not be the case, as it doesn't matter if it's important or not. The thing that really matters is if you're able to make it memorable and realize that you have to enjoy your life to the fullest because you only get one chance to do just that. And in Girlfriend, there's this character that goes by the name of Shino, who seems to be the one with common sense. It seems to be the most intelligent out of the entire group, but we come to find out that she actually had feelings for the MC, this being Naoya, for the entire time of her life, ever since she met him in middle school. But she holds on to these feelings because her friend, this being Saki, is the one that Naoya is actually interested in the most. So of course, because of that, she never really got the chance to let out her actual feelings of him in order for her friend's happiness. But in the entirety of season 2, we get to see just how much she's been holding on to her feelings, and no matter how many times she has tried to forget or tried to erase her feelings from him, it is something that is very hard to do, and it's something that she can't do herself. And realizing in the end that she has to accept these feelings, but also at the same time she now seems to be very accepting of the polyamorous relationship, which was a very huge change of her character because she was actually very much against it in season 1. But now that she's very open about her wanting to be with the MC, she now is determined to even be in this polyamorous relationship if it means being with the person she likes the most. So overall, how has the harem genre gotten better? And it's very quite simple. It's because no longer do we see the typical tropes in these harem stories anymore. From time to time, we have seen that authors are really starting to try to do things more differently. And that is by either creating a very impactful story like the quintessential quintuplets and the cafe terrace, to show us that just because it's part of the harem genre, that doesn't mean that it can't have a good story, or the other way around, where you have authors who don't mind writing crazy story plots, but at the same time they still do realize that they have to make it as enjoyable so that the watcher or reader tunes into the new chapters or when the new episode comes out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.